All right, let's get into it. You've probably heard of it, especially if you're from the American South. We're talking about a plant that's basically a legend, a living, breathing monster that just drapes itself over everything. Yep, kudzu. But here's the question. Is it just a story of destruction? Or is there something more to this infamous vine?
Listen to this quote from the poet James Dickey. He absolutely nails it. See, this isn't just about some plant. Kudzu is a cultural force. It's this symbol of something wild, something you just can't stop. And that legend, the idea that you have to literally lock your windows at night to keep it out, that just perfectly sets the scene for what we're about to unpack.
So this green, mindless ghost, what is it really? Before we dive into its crazy history and its, believe it or not, potentially surprising future, we gotta understand what makes this thing such a powerhouse, such a formidable opponent. Okay, so kudzu is a perennial vine. It's actually in the pea family, and it's originally from Japan and China. It is like the textbook definition of an invasive species. It absolutely loves any land that's been disturbed, roadsides, old fields, the edges of forests, and once it gets a foothold, game over. It just explodes, blanketing everything, smothering other plants, stealing their sunlight, and eventually just crushing them with its weight. We're talking it can literally swallow houses and snap power lines. It's wild. And the speed? The speed is just insane. Get this, a single vine can grow up to 30 centimeters. That's a whole foot in one day. In just one day. Can you imagine that? It's not just a plant growing, it's like nature on fast forward. It's no wonder it's got this legendary reputation, right? But here's where the story takes a major turn. This plant that we now think of as this total ecological nightmare, it wasn't an accident. We didn't just stumble upon it. No, we invited it here. In fact, we celebrated it. We actually promoted it as a miracle solution to a huge problem we were facing.
Let's walk through this timeline, because it's pretty wild. It all starts way back in 1876. Kudzu is introduced from Japan, and people love it. It's this beautiful ornamental vine that provides great shade. Fast forward to the 1930s and 40s, the Dust Bowl era. Suddenly, its crazy aggressive growth isn't a problem, it's a feature. The government literally paid farmers to plant this stuff to stop soil from blowing away. But, as you can guess, that honeymoon phase, it didn't last. By 1953, the USDA was like, okay, whoa, maybe this was a bad idea, and they took it off the approved list. By 1970, it's officially a common weed. And then, the final nail in the coffin, 1997, it gets labeled a federal noxious weed. Talk about a complete 180.
And you can see this whole journey just in the words people used. It went from being a wonder plant to the vine that ate the South. From a solution for soil erosion to something that has a stranglehold on the land. It is the perfect, and I mean perfect, example of good intentions gone horribly wrong.
So, okay, we can all see the physical damage, right? The forests that look like they're covered in a green blanket, the tangled power lines, it's obvious. But what if I told you that some of its worst damage is actually invisible? That it's happening on a chemical level, in the very air we're breathing?
Yeah, so what about the damage you can't see? This is the crucial part. Kudzu isn't just changing what the landscape looks like, it's actually changing the chemistry of the environment itself. And to really get how it does that, we need to talk about one specific chemical.
All right, that key player is nitric oxide, or NO. You've probably heard of it. It's a super reactive gas, a major air pollutant. And when it gets up in the atmosphere and mixes with sunlight, it helps form ground-level ozone. And what's ground-level ozone? Well, it's the main ingredient in smog. And we all know smog is terrible for crops, and it's really, really bad for our lungs.
And here is the scientific bombshell. Researchers discovered that wherever kudzu takes over, it completely changes the soil. And the result? The soil starts pumping out twice as much nitric oxide into the air. Let that sink in. This means kudzu isn't just a physical monster taking over the landscape, it's a major and until recently totally hidden contributor to air pollution, a chemical threat.
Okay, so kudzu is a massive problem, physically, chemically, you name it. But what if we could flip the script? What if we could turn this gigantic problem into a resource? There's some really fascinating research happening right now that's looking at whether we can take these destructive vines and, get this, weave them into textiles. The process is called retting, and it's basically all about controlled fermentation. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. You harvest the vines, you dunk them in water with some special microbes. Then you just let those little guys go to town. They eat away at the tough outer part of the vine, and after a few days, voila!
You can easily pull out the strong fibers from inside, wash them, dry them, and you're good to go. It's a pretty cool, low-cost way to get at the good stuff hidden inside.
But here's the catch. Timing is everything. Turns out, when you harvest the vines makes a huge difference in the quality of the fiber. If you look at this, vines harvested in the winter, the fibers are super weak, basically useless. But if you harvest them in the early spring, the fibers are way stronger. Strong enough that they actually start to get close to the quality standards for the real deal textile industry.
So we've got textiles. What about energy? The quest to redeem kudzu doesn't stop with making fabric. There's another really promising idea out there, turning this unstoppable plant into biofuel.
And this quote from a USDA researcher just says it all. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. That is the exact spirit of this whole effort. Instead of just trying to kill kudzu, what if we could use it? It's the ultimate turn a negative into a positive situation.
So how would this even work? Well, the secret is buried underground, in kudzu's huge roots. They are just packed with starch. And you can take that starch, ferment it, and produce ethanol. You know, the same stuff we make from corn for biofuel. But here's the real kicker, the part that gets really exciting. Some research suggests that 1 acre of kudzu, a weed we're already desperate to get rid of, could produce just as much, maybe even more ethanol than an acre of corn, which we have to spend time and money growing. I mean, think about that. A renewable energy source that doesn't take up space we need for food, that's a pretty powerful idea.
Which really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? The story of kudzu is, well, it's a heck of a cautionary tale. It shows you just how fast a miracle solution can turn into an absolute disaster. But it also makes us ask something really important. Can we get smart enough to fix our own mistakes? Can we learn to take the very things that are plaguing us and transform them into the resources we need for the future?